Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery Podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, and I'm here with
Jersey Ed.
Jersey Ed out there.
In a garage, I guess.
Garage. Of course, we got our producer extraordinaire, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend.
Sweets.
Yes.
Sweets just got grabbed for looting. He was looting at the Whole Foods.
No, he wasn't.
They caught him with some organic bananas and
a bag of pineapples.
In a bag. Yeah, we have no idea what he's doing with that. Yep. we have a beautiful day up here in Massachusetts. How is it down there in Jersey, Philly, wherever the hell you are?
I'm in a garage with air conditioning. What more can I ask for?
Oh, you can't write. You got all kinds of memorabilia behind you, bikes and hats and lamps.
Got everything.
That's right. You're in a garage miles away, hours away. What more could we ask for?
That's right. We're keeping you there. That's right.
That's right. I'm going to ask our viewers a quick question. Do you guys want me in this garage anymore? I'm going to ask them. Call us at 617-379-1163 or hit us with an email at Helping Friends in Recovery Podcast and let me know, do you guys want me in this garage anymore? Because I'm kind of sick of being in this garage. I miss the studio. I miss all the sirens and the police cars that show up and the firefighters and the trucks that show up there.
The free meals.
That's right.
Free meals. Right. I missed all that. I know. I'm cooking my own burger in between shows. So, God, what kind of life is this? No, it's a great life.
You got another extraordinary guest. I looking at here.
Yeah, Bob Mohr. He's our guest. We'll be bringing him in a minute. He's doing some extraordinary things, and we'll talk to him about all that stuff. But you know, we're rolling along here, and
so are you living in the garage? Okay? Are you living in the garage now?
Well, my bed's over there, my TV's there.
Right. I mean, because we only see you in the garage. I only talk to you when you're in the garage, so I just assume that you live there now. Well, and listen, that I mean. Does this really have anything to do with the quarantine, or is this other stuff we need to talk about?
Well, that we'll talk about off air. But Sweets, if you had air conditioning in your garage, wouldn't you fucking live in it too?
I do actually have air conditioning out in the garage, and I have a couch, and I have a big screen TV and Wi-Fi, and I do find myself out in the garage quite a bit. Yeah, little refrigerator out here.
Yeah,
there you go.
Coffee maker, wood stove if a cold front comes in.
That's it. Hey, listen, if we get guests, if you want to be a guest on the show, those same numbers, 617-379-1163 or help at Friends in Recovery Podcast, and you want to come to our studios when everything's cleared, you can see all that magic going on up there.
That's right. Get to meet Sweets.
That's right. Get to meet Sweets. Yeah, that's right. That's right. See what he looks like.
That's right. Don't tell anybody.
No. Then we hypnitize you afterwards so you forget.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Batmobile. We bring you in the Batmobile. Remember they put the blindfold on? Go into that.
You won't know. You won't know. You won't be able to tell.
That's right. Exactly. So guys, I'm excited about today's guest. And this is
him in.
I'll bring him in. Why I'm introducing him, I'll tell you why I'm excited about it. First of all, he's a Marine. Second of all, he's in long-term recovery, and he's an ultra marathoner. This is really the reason why I brought him in. He could have been none of that, and I still would have brought him in because of the ultra marathon piece. But he's an ultra marathoner, and he's an HIV survivor. But as in Bob's words, Bob Mohr's words, kick-ass motherfucker. That's what he is. Okay, I like that. But that's the bio that he wanted me to read about him. That's pretty fucking good. I mean, you accomplished a lot just right there. Those 4 things, Bob. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bob.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
You're welcome. So you got quite of a list of things going on in your life, and you and I met on Friends in Recovery, Genesis House. You were a speaker on our one of our meetings, our daily meetings. We do them noontime and 7 p.m., 12-step meetings. And you spoke, and 3 minutes into your speaking, you started talking about ultramarathoners. I was like, whoa, I'll listen to this guy, perk me up. So, but he did go on to talk about a lot of other stuff. Bob has really, really good recovery. And of course he's, a Marine. That's the most important part of all this. I don't think without that background, being a Marine, I don't think you would have been able to get through half the shit that you've been going through. So Bob, tell us a little bit about what's going on over there and why you're a kick-ass motherfucker.
I don't know if that's exactly what I said. I said I'm kicking HIV's motherfucking ass.
But you're still a kick-ass
something like that. But, yeah.
I know your story, brother.
That's all right. You know what? When you bring up the Marine Corps, so my recovery, I celebrated 6 years in April.
Congratulations.
And
right.
Thank you. And I don't attend very many meetings. My recovery, when I relapsed in 2014, I blitzed through the 12 steps, fuck this shit. I need to get in and out of this bullshit. And running was already a big part of my life then. So without this pandemic, or whatever we want to call it, I'll keep my opinions to myself, but a good friend of ours, Ed, Tim, he sent me a message to, he said he was getting squirrely and needed to do these meetings, and he asked me if I would join. And in my head, I'm like, fuck no, fuck that AA bullshit, seriously. And that was in the beginning of, I don't know, whenever everything got locked down, beginning of March or so. Mm-hmm. Tim being a Marine, Tim knowing me, not personally, just Facebook friends since 2009.
Wow.
He saw me go through my HIV diagnosis. We communicated. He saw me go through a major relapse, major bout of depression, and out of just fucking respect for the man, I joined those meetings. And because of that simple outreach by Tim, God blessed me to have you in my life and be here today. Had it not been for the Marine Corps, I may have even blocked the son of a bitch that asked me to go to a meeting. That's just, and that's the truth. So I'm very grateful for that. And through this pandemic or whatever, going to these Zoom meetings, I realized how much deeper I need to dig down and uncover a bunch more bullshit within myself, that I do need the 12 steps. And maybe not so much the 12 steps, some of the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. I run with people in recovery. My best friend that got me into ultra running is also in recovery. And sometimes I'll be like, dude, we need to go to a little more meetings. When I say a little more, that's probably 2 or 3 for a year. Yeah. And he's our running is our recovery. And I will literally say to him, I'm like, dude, we're 2 fucked up individuals bouncing fucked up ideas off of each other. We need a room full of fucked up individuals bouncing fucked up ideas off of each other, because that's what recovery is.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not all fucked up ideas, but they may be fucked up ideas till you hear this other man say it, and then you're like, wow, I do need that part in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm just very thankful that Tim got me back, knowing that I do need the program, some of the anger that I have, some of the self-righteousness, prejudices that I have, they need to be addressed. Mm-hmm. So, and that comes with a lot of, what I went through in my life. Yeah. Not just what I went through, but what I put myself through.
Right.
You got to take ownership for the bullshit you do to yourself. Things happen that maybe are out of our, they happen to us. But how we choose to deal with them is our choice.
Yeah.
And you can only blame things that happened to you for so long till you look in that mirror and say, I'm the one that fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And Bob, the Marine Corps, and you've got a fellow serviceman. You were Army, I believe, right, Podfather?
Yep, I was in the U.S. Army Military Police Corps. But I'll just tell you a sidebar. So I went to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, November 72. In March of 73, I was down at Fort Gordon, Georgia, going to MP school. And who was with us but Marines? The Marines went to the Army's military police. So we have all these brand new recruits, Army and Marines. And, of course, there's a lot of competition there. But I got to tell you.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, my AIT is one of the best memories, which was the training, the 16-week training to be an MP. But it's one of the best memories of my life. I was 19 years old, and I was with all these crazy jarheads and crazy Army guys. And all we did was compete, laugh. We had the best time, I'll tell you. It really was. And I learned a lot. I knew when I joined the Army that it was the best thing I did, because my life was I was going in the wrong direction. You know, I'd been arrested 3 times before I was 18, so things weren't going that good. So but I had a lot of fun with the Marines. I really did.
So, we do bust each other's balls, but there's nothing but mutual respect for
100%.
All 5 branches, because I do include the Coast Guard, because I've got friends that are in the Coast Guard.
Absolutely.
You know,
and I agree.
Nothing but respect. But we will bust each other's balls all the time,
100%.
and we all know who the best is, so we don't need to even go there today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had a police partner, Billy Finn, and Billy and I were partners for a couple of years. And Billy's a Marine, you know, and that's all we did. It was always on the Marine's birthday. I think it's November 8th or 9th. I forget. 10th. All right. 10th. Well, I knew it was around there, so that's not bad, right? Because I joined the Army on November 9th, so you know it was always. You know, we always, right around that date, we'd always bust each other's balls. But listen, I was talking on another show about how a small percentage of society goes into the armed forces. And, you know, I wish more young men and women would do that, because, number one, the country could use them. And number two, you know as well as I do, it gives you a foothold on life that most people don't have. Right, Bob?
Absolutely. I feel the same way. 18 years old, your choice. 2 years active, 4 years in the reserves or National Guard. Every single person.
Absolutely. I agree.
Absolutely.
And so, Michael, you being a police officer, I combated a lot of them in my days.
That's
right. But you know, it was always, they're always fucking out after me. But I got a great story. That in my recovery, I was a stepdad to, this was right before my relapse, unfortunately, but I coached cross country. I coached little girls basketball, and there was a little girl there, and this was in Michigan, where I'm originally from, and a Monroe County Sheriff's car would pull up all the time. And I mean, I was sober almost 8 years at that time. And I'm like, man, is this guy fucking investigating me? He's here every week. Do I have something that I didn't take care of?
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Well, come to find out, that little girl was his daughter, and the guy that was there arrested me years ago. And, you know, our first conversations were a little mixed. Him being in where he was, and you know, not knowing anything about me for the last 8 to 10 years.
Right.
Eventually, I ended up painting this man's house. Had the keys to his house when he went to work. You know, and yeah, it just is. It shows you what recovery can do. Absolutely. And the way that I used to look at people. You know,
sure. Like
I said, I have a lot of prejudices, and it's not necessarily color of people's skin sometimes.
Same here.
That I'm still healing every day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And he is he also was a Navy SEAL, which I didn't know when he arrested me. So we're buddies, man.
Yeah,
He thinks I'm a fucking fool for all the miles I run, but we're buddies, you know, and it's all because of the gift of recovery.
Amen.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I want to talk about ultra marathoning and how that kind of plays in your recovery and all that. As you said earlier, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll talk about the ultra marathoning and how you kick the ass of the HIV on the second half of your interview.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Answering the call, First Responders Podcast. We'll be right back.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Answering the call, the First Responders Podcast. I am the Podfather, and I'm here with Jersey Ed. And
It's me.
there he is.
Hi,
And
guys.
we're here in Sweet Studio up here in Beverly, Mass. with the one, the only Sweets. They're extraordinary producer. And Ed, what do you have? You have a podcast pick of the week for us?
I do. We have a great guest, Bob Mohr. We're going to bring him back in a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit more about things. But my podcast pick of the week, guys, is Sweets. What about my my bells and whistles and all that stuff? I forgot to ask for all that. What's wrong?
Yeah, you got to ask for that stuff.
Good
You want a drum roll?
Give me a drum roll.
There you go.
Let's take two, guys.
All right.
Of course, Sweets will cut all this out, right? They're not gonna make me
Absolutely
look
not. Absolutely not. It's all staying in there. Go
Jersey
ahead.
Ed's podcast pick of the week. Go. Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week. Veteranology. Host Jay Knight. The mission of Veteranology is simple: helping vets leaving active service experience healthy and fulfilling transition into civilian world. This is done by interviewing vets who have found success in their new life outside of the military, individuals who have created service organizations and nonprofits that serve veterans, communities, and professionals deeply integrated into the backdrop of vet life, such as doctors, lawyers, and caseworkers. You can find the Veteranology Podcast anywhere you get podcasts from, and at their website, veteranology.com. And that'll all be in our show notes, guys, if you didn't understand what I was just saying. And if you have any questions, give us a call at 617-379-1163 or help at Friends in Recovery Podcast, and I'll get all that information out to you. Bob Mohr, he is I talk to him a lot because I am doing what's called a calendar run right now, and he's been coaching me through it. I don't think he realizes it, but I call him like all the time and ask him for advice. We were just on the phone this morning before the show, and he was giving me some running shoe advice. But Bob, I want to hear about some of your ultra marathons and maybe how the military or how the Marines got you into that or played a big role, because ultra marathoning takes tremendous focus, tremendous amount of endurance. And when I always say, when you think you've had enough, you're only at 40%. And that's a kind of a mindset for an ultra marathoner, I'm guessing, because when you think you're done, you still might have 72 miles to go or 22 miles to go, and running 100 miles. I see your shirt, the Canal 100 there, and it's
and go blue.
Yeah, it's not easy running 100 miles all at once, anyways.
No. So, well, I tried to get sober in 99, 2000, somewhere around there. And I met this guy. I had been introduced to AA through the late 80s and 90s from when I got out of the Marine Corps to various DUIs, court ordered, blah, blah, blah. But, it was a cult and it was never going to work for me. So I met this guy that was starting a program called Racing for Recovery. And he did Ironmans. So fast forward to, we talked about running when I went to the program. I didn't stay sober. Fast forward to 2008 when I turned myself into jail. Ended up not getting what I should have, what I deserved, and ended up living in a halfway house. And I was one of the few people living in a halfway house that had a job. It was a VA halfway house, and I had to, that was part of my probation. I had to go to work, and I'd leave every morning, and these guys would be on the front porch smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. They were staying sober. Don't get me wrong. I'd come home from work, and them same motherfuckers were there doing the same fucking thing. And I'm like, I'm literally almost crying. This isn't what I want to do in my life. And I went upstairs. There's to the bunks that I just fucking cried the one day. And I remembered this guy that's Racing for Recovery. And knowing I had this old ratty pair of tennis shoes, I said, I'm just going to fucking run. I'm going to start running. And my goal was to run 3 miles in 18 minutes, which was the perfect score for the Marine Corps physical fitness test. And I would leave that house, and them motherfuckers on the porch would be there. And I'd run with so much anger, hatred, spite, angry at myself for what I put myself through, everything. So it just advanced from there. But I never wanted to compete. I never wanted to run a race. I ran strictly for my sobriety and peace of mind. And I moved to Texas in my sobriety, and I ended up doing teen retreats down there. And the kids talked me into running a 5K in 2011. And I took second place, and I'm like, wow, this is fucking cool. Mm-hmm. But then that was it.
That's great.
That was it. Again, I ran 3 to 5 miles every day. That was it. Mm-hmm. It was my it was my mental stability. But all that changed March 5th of 2012. I was diagnosed with HIV. Mm-hmm. And I thought I'd be dead in a year because I didn't know. All I knew was the late 80s and AIDS.
Yeah.
October 2012, as a bucket list thing, because I was going to be dead, I ran the Marine Corps Marathon. And wasn't even on HIV meds yet.
Wow. So,
and that's how it progressed from there.
Yeah.
About 3 months after that, I ran my first 50K with the guy from that program, that Racing for Recovery, who was my counselor at the time. We no longer really see eye to eye, but he was in my life. He was in my life to get me to where I am now. I always say people are in for good, bad, or indifferent. And then in 2014, I relapsed, and I met a guy who was my best friend. I was injured, and I was volunteering at a half Ironman. Okay. I was handing out water, and me and this guy met, and that was in May of 2014. In July of 2014 was my first introduction to a 100-mile race. Wow. Where I the only thing this guy said to me was, and his name's Eric. He's my best friend, Eric Whittington. If you can stay sober from May to July, I'll let you crew and pace me for my first 100-mile race. And I'm like, so when he asked me, I'm like, what in the fuck does that even mean? I had no idea what an ultra marathon was. Damn. And so this guy, he's in recovery. I drive 3 hours away to his house the night before the race. He knows I just relapsed, right? I walk into his house. He introduced me to his wife, his 10-year-old son. He hands me $350 cash 2 credit cards, and the keys to his van to be his crew in the morning. And we have been best friends since.
Oh my
He
God.
he ended up dropping out at mile 80 of that race. He had no idea what he was doing, nor did I. The following year, that same race, he finished. I dropped out at mile 86, and that was my introduction. And since that was 2015, my first finish was in 2016. I've had almost as many DNFs in 100 milers as finishes. I think I've ran 12 24-hour races.
Holy cow. Wow.
My best was last year. I was second overall. I ran 106.5 miles in 24 hours.
Oh my God.
And I think I've ran 10 100-mile races, and I've got 4 finishes and 4 finishes and 6 DNFs. And every DNF I learned.
Hey, Bob, I just got a quick question. Do you go into a zone like after, I don't know. I mean, I drive 100 miles. I'm exhausted. I can't imagine. Do you go into a zone? I mean, how do you keep going?
There's all kinds of different reasons. Spite sometimes. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest of 12. I'm the oldest of 12 in my family.
Right.
I really don't talk to them, so sometimes it's spite. Fuck you bastards! Look what the fuck I can do. But that's just in my head.
Right.
Sometimes it's remembering rummaging through a dumpster to brush off the rottenness off of potatoes. That was part of my staple at one time. Other times it's just pure fucking joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking up and just saying, God, you let me do this? How the fuck can I do this after what I put myself through in life?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I hashtag after a race bitch tears because, grown men don't cry. But so I call them bitch tears, but I'll literally run with tears in my eyes of just I shouldn't be able to do this. And, and other times it's the music that carries me through.
Mm-hmm.
And when people ask me about how, I've had people say, what's an easy 100-miler for my first one, Bob? There's not a fucking easy 100-miler. It's 100 fucking miles. It doesn't matter.
That's amazing.
But they're a third, to me, in my opinion, they're a third physical and 2/3 mental.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's
mental,
tough to
right?
keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got, I in 2000, not just myself, I belong to Team Red, White, and Blue. It's a veterans organization. And we had the pleasure of running with a wounded warrior. He's blind and deaf at the Akron Marathon. And we ran a 3-hour and 56 marathon with him.
Wow.
July 11th, we have a team again, myself, my friend Matt, and the veteran's name is Aaron Hale. He is attempting his first 100-miler at this race here, the Canal Corridor. Wow. So we're going to take a blind and deaf veteran 100 miles.
Wow. That is great. Bob, real quick.
It's,
okay.
It just is, it's very humbling.
It is.
This guy lost his sight, disarming an IED.
Oh.
And,
God.
But he never quit.
Boy, I guess not. Jesus.
That's crazy.
Wow. God bless you, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob, real quick, we're going to close here. And I want to thank you very much for all this. I want to know when your next 100-mile race is, and I want to bring you on after that next 100-mile race and talk about that, because this is amazing. You started in the Marine Corps. You're in recovery, and you relapsed. That's okay. No big deal. That happens. But you learned from that relapse. You went on to do ultra marathons. You kicked HIV's ass. You're running ultra marathons, and you're here talking to us. And I know that feeling of running marathons and getting emotional, because it's like, why is God picking me to do this? Why? Well, when I did all this shit to my body, I'm going 26.2 miles, and I couldn't even get off the couch to grab myself a beer when I had my little 3-year-old daughter go grab me beers out of the refrigerator. I was snorting cocaine on the side, not letting her see that. But Bob, great guest. Thank you very much for being on, answering the call. We definitely want you back, and thank you so much, and God bless you, and thank you for your service and everything you do for us.
Yeah, Bob, thanks for your
Thank
service.
you.
Thanks for the show, and we can't wait to have you back on after the your
Well,
next
thank you,
endeavor.
guys. Yeah, that is it. It will be July 11th.
We'll do it. We'll have you on in June,
In August.
In August for sure. Absolutely. So,
Okay.
so Podfather.
Hey, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, again, Eddie, you outdone yourself. You found a guy that runs ultra marathons. I mean, Jesus, what a great story. Bob seemed to be more concerned about his relapse, but you know what? I can understand. He's probably a perfectionist. You know what? Relapse is part of recovery sometimes, and that's the way it is. I don't know anybody personally, and I know a lot of runners that can do what this guy's been doing, and wow.
Yeah, but
it's amazing.
he beat HIV in the middle of doing all this.
I know, and we didn't even discuss that.
12 24-hour races, multiple 100-mile races, and when he had a jump out of some races. I mean, at 80 miles, I mean, that's still an accomplishment.
86 miles. Wow.
How many
you
miles,
kidding me?
it's crazy, unbelievable. But this is what recovery can do. This is when you put your mind frame to something and you set your goals on something. This is what had happened.
Mind, body, and soul. No doubt about it. Hey, what a great show.
Podfather.
Yep. No, just a great show. Again, you got a great guest, and hey, I'm speechless after listening to Bob. And, hey, answering the call, the First Responders Podcast. Again, just a great show.
Absolutely. Stay safe, everybody.
Wow, great. That was amazing.
Wow, I know. It's crazy.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.